it isn't, we started out this podcast with like, this is remote work. No, this is far from it. This is not normal. And I think to treat it any other way is putting everyone in a difficult spot. And it's not to say there isn't work to be done, right? Like there's a lot of work to be done. And I think
Welcome to 33 Tangents, a weekly podcast featuring a rotating panel of co-hosts that all work together in the same company but live in different areas of the world. The discussions cover a wide variety of topics from digital analytics to working remotely to current happenings in business and technology. Our regular day-to-day conversations often go off in various directions, and the goal of this podcast is to share our ideas and find new ways to engage with others.
band.
It does.
Be rad.
Oh, speaking of, hey, check this out. Check this out. I learned something yesterday.
Okay.
Oh shit! I got. Oh shit! Nothing. I got nothing.
So you didn't learn something yesterday.
What brand of keyboard do you have there?
That's a Roland.
Roland makes some good keyboards. Is it sampled?
Yeah, it has to be, but it has like 1,000 key polyphony. So like you're never gonna run out of.
Do you have 1,000 keys on there?
No, but like what it means is. So if you're suspending the tone and you keep hitting it, like some keyboards will run out of like memory, right?
Right.
And so this basically like you're not going to run out of being able to produce.
The old school electronics that were used to make the music for a lot of the and this is because you kids wouldn't know about this, but a lot of the early Nintendo and Super Nintendo games had 2 and 3 key polyphony, and so you had to get like super creative in
you want me to turn on all of the sprinklers? You can only do one zone at a time.
Sprinklers? By the way, our sprinklers aren't on yet. I tried to check my sprinklers this morning. We don't have water.
Sorry, I've been asked to turn on sprinklers for kids.
It's like 40 degrees outside. I got my jacket on.
Hey, you know what? Like, that's
no, it's 61. Oh, but it says 50% chance of rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks cloudy.
Yeah,
you guys want to see? You guys want to see what I got?
Sure.
Check that out.
What is that?
Well, I can't read it, but a guy I know whose wife is Korean translated it, and she says it says fire chicken sauce.
Interesting. So you haven't tried it yet, though?
No, but I'm going to make a bowl of ramen after we record, and he said to start with just like a dime-sized drop into the ramen to start with because it's pretty fiery hot. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's my big purchase that showed up today. Fire chicken sauce.
I kind of find
nice.
Do you see the cool picture of the person blowing fire here? I'm gonna have to put it. We'll have to put a photo on the blog post for this episode.
Yeah, send me a photo of that.
Yeah.
So go ahead and continue with the whole Nintendo thing because I think I know where you're going.
No, I was just saying that I think for like the old Nintendo games, the soundtrack had like two, like the technology used to create the music for those was like 2 and 3 key polyphony, right? So like they had to get like super creative, and they only had a handful of voices that they could use, so they had to get super creative in how they did both the backing music and the sound effects.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was 2 or 3 years ago I came across a YouTube video where someone was explaining with the original Legend of Zelda, it consumes so much memory that a lot of the times the music in the background would cut out so the sound effects could take priority. And even then the entire soundtrack didn't always play. And someone tried to recreate what it should have sounded like had the cartridge had enough memory for the song to actually play.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny because those original songs, like, because of the way that the gaming was back then, and you could never save, and you had to play it over and over and over again, like, those songs are part of culture now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in any one of us could basically like hum an entire tune if it was right there going along. So,
well, you're both thinking of the Legend of Zelda music right now after me talking about that.
No, I've got Bill Withers going right now.
Rest in peace.
I don't know how it slipped my radar, but it has to be all of the COVID-19 stuff. But one of the greatest artists of all time passed away, and yeah, it didn't even hit my radar when it happened. So, anyways, this was the little riff that I was trying to play, but I couldn't get the rhythm going because I felt the pressure of the headphones on and whatever. But I learned like the bass line riff. Come on, there's no better.
We're gonna get a copyright strike if you keep that up.
Yeah, we are.
I'm giving him credit. This is Bill Withers. He's the man.
That's not how YouTube and these platforms work. They like sniff out 3 seconds of something and strike you down.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
but I put together a music video for the baby's first birthday, and Suzanne put it up on Facebook last week and immediately got copyright strikes.
That's what they do. That's what.
Yeah.
They do.
Do you remember our friend that was doing those watch a Mormon, listen to hard rock movies, and how YouTube kept shutting him down? Jason?
I don't know about that.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, Jordan from Workfront.
Oh yeah. Those were I was actually enjoying that.
Yeah,
is he still doing that?
No, he stopped doing it because it was becoming so much of a pain to keep fighting YouTube on it.
People have to figure out how to do it because there's a guy that does like. There's a lot of people that do the whole Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing, and I watch a guy that does it with Fuller. What is that show? Penn and Teller's Fool Us. And he runs like full clips, and then he'll talk over it, basically breaking it down. And there's lots of there's lots of YouTube channels that like do that. Like there's got to be some way that they're either doing it legally or you can get around it, right?
Well, I think the first thing is if your channel's monetized, and I could be completely wrong about this, is the first thing they do is if there's a copyright strike, the money that you would have earned goes to the copyright holder. So that may be it. Like if it's a non-monetized, YouTube channel, they'll just take it down, or they'll mute it or something.
All right.
As you can see, like our minds are all over the place.
It's true.
Yeah. Which leads me into our topic today.
Which is?
It's current events. So I was thinking about this the other day, and right now, the title I have for this one is Staying Sane While Working From Home During the COVID-19 Pandemic. At this point, everyone's working from home, but it's not your typical work from home situation. The rest of the family is also home. At this point, I'm going to have 2 office mates until September. The Philadelphia School District today closed schools for the rest of the year. And those that do have children home with them, they're trying to do remote learning. So it's not a normal situation. And, you can tell people's nerves are starting to fray, tempers are starting to flare. So how can you stay sane during this time? It's trying. It's not easy. how can you prevent the frustration from getting the best of you?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head where you said it's not normal. And I think it's important to accept that and just kind of go with that. And I think that's both from a working perspective and an expectations perspective. And I'm thinking about it from the remote work crowd, because I follow these, and I like to think I'm an evangelist for the remote work movement. But I follow some guys in this space that are full on like cult leaders, I guess I would describe them as, and they're using this as an opportunity to beat everyone down, to say, see, I told you so, and this is working from home. I'm like, no, this is not working from home. Totally like I've been working from home for probably the last 12 years, and this is not remote work. This is not what remote work is like. And I think to pretend that it is the wrong way to look at it. This is not normal. When things change, and things will change. This isn't how normal remote work is going to look. And I think it's important to accept that, and important to just be who you are. I think we've all, even though we work full-time remote, I still think we put our guard up a little bit about, what is acceptable, what isn't. But I think even we have let our guard down even more. And I think it's healthy, because we work with a lot of companies that this is their first exposure to being home, and they kind of have some expectations. And when they, like I had to end a call early today because my 5-year-old crashed his bike in the entryway, and it's like, before maybe I would have tried to hide that or panic, and like, no, here's what's going on. And I think it's important for us to show, like, this isn't normal. We all have all these things going on, and to put an added pressure on us to try to pretend that this is some kind of professional office setting is just setting us up for disaster. It's not. And that's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting how those people that are saying, oh yeah, like everybody can work from home. Like this has been a major struggle for me with, my ability to get things done. And before this job, I worked from home for about 5 years when I worked for an agency too. And, so like I've got the balance figured out with my spouse, and figuring out how to, manage the workday around that. But when I've got 3 kids home right now that are, like stealing my webcam because they need it for a class activity, or the headphones, or like their computer's not working right when they need to get on Roblox for whatever reason, like it's a constant nag and disruption, or the feeling that there's going to be a disruption that's atypical from a traditional work from home environment. Like right now, as we started this podcast, I was told I needed to turn sprinklers on to run through, even though it's not even 70 degrees out. But they're just so excited for the springtime because the sun is out for a minute.
And we've been locked indoors for so long because they don't get that playtime with friends at school. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think just accepting it like that is, and not trying to put this framework of this is how we're supposed to do remote work on it. It's okay not to have it be normal. And I think, to Bryant's point, like, it's okay to expose that, like, we're all at home. There's no sense in trying to hide it and mask it, right? Let's just let it be what it is, and be okay with it. And I also think it's important to find some ways to break it up. And it's again interesting. Like I've been working from home for over a decade, and I've found this challenging for me. And even as a deeply introverted person, like, I'm finding it, like, feeling constrained to be very challenging. And so I've been trying to work out more. I've been trying to go out and go for a walk, but do it where there's no one around, so I don't get shamed, which is a whole other topic. But
don't get me started on that.
But I've found it challenging. So anyone that this is their first exposure to working from home, like, if we're finding it challenging, and we've been doing this for more than 10 years, everyone's going to find it challenging. And I think it's okay. We should be open, and we should just have that conversation about how we're trying to get by.
Yeah, we had a conversation this morning with one of our clients, Jim and I did, and she was talking about how she's got 7 meetings back to back to back today, and how they're actually implementing from the top down, saying, okay, enough of these like all day marathon meetings from working from home, because it's just not working. And so
yeah, no one's getting anything done.
Yeah, and so I think there's this natural tendency when you're in offices that you can kind of just like, oh, I'll go walk over to Jim's desk and talk about something, and now you can't do that. So people are setting up massive amounts of meetings just to answer the few questions that are there. And the default setting on Outlook or Google Calendars is a 30-minute meeting, which is also like bad. So instead of changing it, even though it's super easy to do, the behavior is just, oh, I'll block out a half hour here with so and so, and before you know it, there's 8 hours of meetings on a person's day.
So I'm not the only one that noticed that, like a drastic increase in meeting requests.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had it.
You're not alone. Yeah. But
what's the way to solve that? Because again, I mean, I think you hit on the key point, Bryant, that traditionally there's a lot of hallway conversations and just organic conversations that happen, and because now everyone is virtually remote, and we don't know how to have those hallway conversations in a remote sense, that every thought now is a 15, 20, 30-minute meeting. And when that's the case, it's very easy to look at your calendar and it's like, I have 7 hours of meetings today.
yeah,
How, it gets really overwhelming.
yeah. I mean, so I probably have like more ADD than anybody else that I know, with the ability to be able to text message, instant message, Slack, email, and have meetings, and seemingly be paying attention to all of that. So I might not be the best to give the advice there, but I would say that the instant messaging channels that we have need to be leveraged. Well, I hate that I just said need to be leveraged. They need to be used more regularly than maybe people are used to there.
Do you
Or just like set up a 5-minute call instead of a 25-minute call, and limit yourself to that 5-minute call because everybody's busy.
by the way, you're wearing a lone wolf hat?
You bet I am.
It's cool. Do you think that one of the outputs of this is going to be that we're going to think more strategically about how we design our communication? Because if we see things like an overload in meetings, is it going to force us to rethink it? But even to your point of this can be a Slack message, I don't know if you've noticed that as well, but I've seen a massive increase in Slack communication to the point where I'm overwhelmed by that. Like I can't even keep up with all of the channels that are happening. So does this cause us to rethink and be maybe a little bit more strategic in how we design the way we communicate? I think we've just took, it's like, oh, it shouldn't be an email, it should be a Slack. Well, now where everything's a Slack, it's worse than email. So, are we gonna come up with some kind of positive to have a bit more structure to how we communicate coming out of this?
I hope so, but the cynic inside of me says no.
I think at first, I think there will be, as things eventually get back to normal, but I think eventually everyone will fall back into bad habits.
Everybody? Most people, yeah.
Most people. Yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
it's. I think it's. I think it's an awesome.
Hey, rational.
Hey, there we go. Stepping on each other. Go ahead.
Well, our one client that we were talking to today, they're implementing an immediate change right now on specific days of the week that they need to really limit having any meetings. So I would hope that behavior could actually translate back to when they're in the office again. But things like this typically will revert back to kind of a typical norm of what they were before.
Yeah,
it'll be a short time.
So 2 points. Number one, I think I want to say Jim's done a fairly good job of doing that, at least at some scale. My favorite is his Friday meeting, which is like a 10-hour block called Seriously, No Meetings Get Shit Done, which is a good.
Still people still guilt trip me into meeting on Fridays, but I'm mostly Bryant, but I am debating how to put it nicely. Like, no, seriously, I'm not meeting on Fridays. Friday is my time to get what I need done.
You blocked out the day for no meetings tells me, oh, hey, Jim, I'll talk to you for like 20 minutes early in the morning.
and see how we're all sidetracked all over the place. I'm going to try to remember my point and come back to that. But
what would I've done to control my calendar?
Yeah, no, but I'm getting sidetracked again because Bryant sent out this group text with the people from the Tiger Show, how they align with cities in Utah. And did you see that Magna put out a boil order this morning for their water because they found a dead raccoon in their water supply? I'm like, that is so Magna.
Yeah, but that's also where the epicenter of the earthquake was a couple of weeks ago too, right? So
fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't think they're related, but
yeah, Magna is awesome.
Freaking raccoon! We found a raccoon in our water supply.
My favorite was that Chris was like, "I've never even heard of Magna," and I'm like, "You grew up in Idaho. It's all good."
So great. Okay, so we talked about your calendar. Now I think I had another point. I totally can't remember it, and that's okay. See, it's okay to be all over the place, and I have definitely found that I've been a bit more scrambled the last few weeks for sure. And I posted it on. I can't bring my toe up. See my pretty toenails. Yeah, my pretty blue toenails. I think we're all losing it to an extent, and that's okay. Again, let's not take ourselves too seriously here. But I do hope that one of the things that, and Jim, I think maybe you and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it internally, that Hila and I, back in 2016, started preparing the company for an upcoming recession. And one of the things that we've talked about is that it's a really, really good opportunity to refine what it is that we do. And, none of us want to go through those types of things, but if we look back on our lives, it's the tough periods in our lives where we've really come out a better, stronger version of ourselves and really refined what we do. And that's what's keeping me a bit level-headed right now, is that I'm hoping we find things like this, right? Like the calendar's exploding and all of the chatter going on Slack, and all these things are becoming amplified right now. And I think it's a really, really good opportunity for us to use this time to refine the way we do it. It's honestly, it's the same messaging that we're telling our clients. Like, this is such an ideal opportunity to refine the way that you do analytics. If you don't take advantage of it now, the companies that do are going to come out way ahead. And then I think it's the same for us as individuals and the same for us as companies, that like, let's use this opportunity to take notice of where we have some snags in the process, and let's refine. Let's use this bad situation as a potential positive here.
So I saw usually LinkedIn is pretty, people keep it pretty professional there. And there's not as much memes and jokes and all of that kind of stuff, because I don't know how they've retained that, to be honest, but they have, right? Like, the culture on LinkedIn is not so much. But I did see a meme there that gave a really interesting take on the situation, and it was a multiple choice question of what was it that actually triggered your digital digital change of your business, right? One was, technology, 2 was people, and 3 was COVID-19, right? And I think that that's actually been really interesting, is how companies have been absolutely forced into taking digital serious.
Yeah.
If they hadn't before.
No choice.
Right? And we've got a client that, as a result of this, started, doing all sorts of things with delivery or curbside delivery, that it was, months or years out on their roadmap, but they had to aggressively change that timeline due to the change. So
for sure.
Sorry, it was digital transformation. I couldn't think of the word transformation for whatever, but what spurred on your digital transformation? COVID-19.
Aren't you the king of corporate buzzword lingo stuff?
You know what? I double clicked into it, and it just caused me to pause for a moment while I reconcile the synergy within my synapse.
So can I ask you guys a personal question as far as what you're doing to cope? I mean, we obviously we talk about the businessy stuff and meetings and how we're dealing with like the change of being at home, but ultimately it's like we also have a change in lifestyle, and I'm wondering how you guys are you guys doing anything designed specifically? Are you trying to do things to make sure that you're keeping balanced? For me, I'm trying to support local restaurants and go out a couple times a week, and it's kind of bad timing because I've been doing so well on my workout and non eating out, and I cut so much weight, so it's bad timing. But I need an excuse to go out, and I feel good kind of doing the local restaurant thing. Trying to force the kids on Sundays to watch 80s movies, that's kind of a thing. So trying to come up with some new routines in order to kind of break up the day. Are you guys doing anything specifically on the personal side to have a bit more balance?
No. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm in the state of mind that I'm in. I mean, I've been trying to avoid social media.
Jim is on edge. He just
Nope.
He said he was going to buzz his head, and like this is all symptomatic of something deeper.
Well, one thing I'm trying to do is avoid social media because that is entirely counterproductive right now. You can't have a civil conversation right now. People are one extreme or another, and they will berate, shame, demean, whatever. So I'm just trying to cut out social media, but unfortunately not. I had a couple of clients that had a few big things that came up that were urgent related to this. So the last couple of weeks have been more of a sprint than anything, to the point where I've been up late, to the point where I'm like, yeah, this is actually not getting good. This is not good. I was home a lot already. So now you add this on top of it. I'm not getting out on the weekends. By the end of, was it maybe in the middle of last week, it really started to get to me, and it's getting to me again. So yes, this is also one of our therapy sessions because I need to chill the F out right now.
Yeah,
you do, man. Come on.
I think it's interesting that you even knew what was the middle of a week versus not middle of the week. That for me personally has been the hardest, is like actually knowing what day of the week it is. So unrelated to COVID, I've been trying to do some other things around like reading different books and understanding things. And actually this week started doing little meditation sessions. I've never meditated in my entire life. Just trying to try some new stuff out. And that's kind of helped me focus for a couple of hours afterwards. But I'm also finding myself taking more time off in the middle of the day to do some things with my kids, and then actually picking up post dinner and finishing up, tying up a couple of loose ends with work. And so that's probably the biggest change that I've made, is not being as rigid with my work schedule, and being more flexible. And not that that's something that this had to spur that on. I go through phases where I change that anyways, but just with the fact that my kids are home, and I see my wife dealing with them all day, trying to give her some help is something that I've been trying to do and balance.
What are we gonna do for Jim?
I think we send him some memes. Send
him a
t-shirt. Ask him if he's still a cool cat and kitten.
Hey, you cool cats. I can't. I've been trying to do the voice, but I can't do it.
Oh, I've got Bryant's copy of that isolated from last week's episode. I still haven't shared it with everybody yet.
I can't wait till it actually, it hits the streets. So related to Joe Exotic, that I just found out, and it kind of it put a little crack in my heart, if I'm being honest, and that is that that he's not the actual voice on his own music videos. You know, I listened to a few of them, and they weren't the worst thing I'd heard. And I thought, man, Joe's Exotic, you got it.
Because it wasn't him.
Yeah, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. So it made me proud.
You know who was his own voice on his music videos was Steve. Yeah, you remember Steve? Yeah, from the what's it called case here in Utah? This was Susan something, was it?
Oh, Stephen Powell?
Yeah. Remember he had a whole website with his songs.
Oh,
it was cringeworthy.
That's bad.
I think that was really, you saw some of the videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't?
No.
I have no idea what this is.
It was.
Oh, so if you want to binge a podcast, KSL here in Utah put together a really great podcast series called Cold, where they detail out the case of Susan Powell. So Susan Powell lived here in West Valley City, disappeared, still hasn't been found. Her husband left the state, moved back to Washington, where he was from, ended up killing his 2 kids and himself and burning his house down. And then come to find out his dad had some kind of secret crush on his wife who was missing, and recorded a bunch of like crazy stuff.
I didn't listen to that podcast, but
you should. I highly recommend it. You do. It's a very well produced podcast, and it's a totally bizarre story. Anyway, Steve, the father-in-law of the lady who disappeared, fancied himself a musician and made some music videos, and they are cringe-worthy. So bad. Sorry, complete tangent there.
Nope. I think that's kind of the mood we're in today.
Yeah,
I will.
You should binge that podcast. It's called Cold. I think it's called Cold. Cold podcast. It's a good one. Yeah, it's called thecoldpodcast.com is the website.
That's produced by KSL, huh?
Yeah, and they did a really good job with it. I was impressed. I was much impressed. So, yeah. I tried to get into gaming a bit on the console, but I just can't do it. I will tell you that I've been binging a guy to tell you how much I need to decompress at the end of the day. There's a sim builder on Steam, the Steam platform, called CitySkylines. It's kind of like Sim City on steroids. It's pretty amazing, the realism and detail on this. Anyway, there's a graphic designer in LA that builds these beautiful cities, and he live streams detailing out parts of his city, and he will have like 2 and 3 hour sessions where he's working on a part of his city, and I will sit there and watch that in its entirety some nights, and I just find it so like relaxing to watch.
What happened to the storm drain cleaner guy?
Oh, I still watch him.
Okay.
Yeah, he posted a new video last night. That guy is called Post 10.
Okay.
And he published a new video last night that I watched where he crawled inside like a 6 foot, 5 foot, I don't know, the culvert. He had to pretty much crawl through it. I got claustrophobic just watching it. And there's all these spiders on the ceiling. So anyway, he did that.
Jim's eyes are like the size of dinner plates right now.
Have you watched any of Post 10's videos, Jim?
I have not, no.
Oh, you're missing out. What we need to do is put together a list of all these great YouTube channels. Because I'm watching.
You're the one that like curates the best ones.
I have so many amazing people I watch on YouTube, and it goes from like the extreme of like Dr. Mix, who recreates like 80s sounds on his studio, has to have like $3 billion worth of musical equipment in it. It's insane.
Slight exaggeration.
But it's a lot though, right?
Yeah. No,
it's a lot.
As a personality, he's enjoyable to watch.
He's very cool. Then I watched Post 10 with his like addiction to storm drains. And I watched this guy that does 3-hour sessions detailing cities and city skylines. My latest addiction is I've been watching poker on the YouTube. Lee Chess. So I've been watching this guy that plays in online tournaments and live streams it. So,
did you watch any of the stuff I sent you from that train operator from Sweden?
Yep.
That one's good. I'll put that on in the background from time to time. It just kind of gives me white noise.
You were talking. That's got to be why you want to move to Sweden. That you're bringing that up. You've been watching the countryside go by.
Yes. That could be one thing influencing
this
that
whole
decision.
country and
I do that, and we're probably not going to have it this year, but I have it every year when I watch the Tour de France and I watch them go by the countryside. I'm like, I want one of these little houses just on the side of this like farm road. This looks amazing.
Yeah.
But then I can't speak the language, so I probably wouldn't do very good there. So this is how we cope, This is how we cope.
No, it's a.
Have you been brewing up any new mixes in to survive the COVID, Jason, on your little barista machine back there behind you?
What I have found, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, is that when I first got the machine, I was such a snob. Like I would go to the grocery store, and if the roast by date wasn't like within a 3-day window of when I wanted it, I wasn't buying it. And now I'm like, just give me whatever has like 3 stars on Amazon. And you know what? I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. I buy Nespresso pods for my Nespresso, and I love them.
I mean, with that said, they are definitely not the same, but they're all drinkable, right? Like, to me, I've got to the point where
there's diminishing returns.
There are some coffees that are so bad I won't drink, but if you spend $5 or $6, you don't need to spend $30 a pound to get good coffee. Like you can get really good coffee for $8. I don't know how much the Boardwalk coffee was. You sent me a pound, Jim, but it was phenomenal coffee. I'm sure it wasn't over $20.
No, it was like 15.
Yeah, like $10 to $15 is a really good sweet spot. But with that said, they are all different. Like I don't want to sound like a wine snob that defines it like, rock cherry fruit. It tastes
some fruity notes here.
It tastes like a fruity note after you licked a dusty brick wall. I don't want to get to that level, but
was that the same brick wall that you had your cat litter in, or?
So the reason why I bring that up is that one of my very first clients doing implementation consulting was a wine delivery company, and I spent a lot of time on their site consuming. And I started reading all of the write-ups on the different wines. And one of them that just stuck with me is they described the wine as having brick red edges. And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. Like, what does a red brick edge taste like? So
I mean, maybe but reasons.
But on the coffee, I can definitely, like the different coffees, the notes to me that are the strongest tend to be like prune and chocolate and caramel, tend to be things that really I can taste in the coffee. So I do have my favorites, but I am no longer a snob that needs like a certain brand that was brewed in like a very short window. Like I just give it to me, and unless it's complete crap coffee, I will drink it. So right now, I got the. So I got some brand off of Amazon that I've been brewing before. It was really good, but it was super oily. But I'm back on this Park City brewer called Pink Elephant. Yeah. This is the Columbia blend. But they have. I think I made you a cup when you came to the house of the Pink Elephant coffee. It's good stuff. Man, I hope people listen to this episode. I find it highly entertaining, but we're not talking about anything of any real value, and I hope that that's okay.
But you know what? I was thinking about that. I think it's a good point. I think this is a lot of people's mindsets right now. There's a lot going on. People are dealing with cabin fever, yet feel guilty for saying, I just want to leave my house for a little bit.
Yeah.
They feel embarrassed. They feel ashamed to say, I want to get out. And that starts to starts to wear you down. And then kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like for me, the biggest problem is days and hours have just started to blend together. I've gotten into this awful habit now because like my day would be broken up. I would get up, my wife and I would get up, I would go work out, I'd come back, we'd have breakfast, and then she would leave for work, and then I would get the baby ready to go to daycare. I would drop him off, come back and start my work day. And then she would pick him up. She would get home. She would get home maybe about 4:30. So I'd maybe give it another hour of work, and then I'd be done, and we'd have dinner. And maybe if something big was going on, I'd work for another hour after that. But since they're not leaving the house either, like the entire day has just become this gelatinous blob. Like there's no defined segments throughout the day. I'm finding myself stopping. We'll have dinner, I'll hang out with them for a bit, I'll spend some time with them, they'll both go to bed, and then I'll be working, and next thing I know, it's 12:30 in the morning. And it's led to this vicious cycle where then I'm dragging to get up the next morning. I have a crappy workout, so I feel even more lousy. So it's become this vicious cycle. And this is one of the ways people are coping right now. Just how do you kind of get some structure back into your day?
Speaking of that, what are you doing for your workouts? Because you were going to the gym, right?
I was going to the gym. So I've been doing a 1.5 to 3 mile loop, depending upon what time I get out in the morning, around the neighborhood with a weighted backpack. I just increased them up to 30 pounds in that. And then I've just got a set of, some weights here in the basement with me. So I'll do some push and pull routines just to do that. So the getting out with the backpack is just for some kind of movement, under resistance, and then just some weights here. It's been actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
So we just moved, and I just finally got our little room where I've got a weight bench and an elliptical set up, but I have not done a single workout in, I don't know, it's been well over 2 months at this point. I had a really good run going at the first of the year. I need to get back into doing that as well.
You know what Bryant's doing to cope? Did you guys hear that Bryant got a new smoker, and he bought like 300 pounds of meat?
Yeah, he was bragging the other day.
The first part of that statement was true, but I did not buy 300 pounds of meat.
I might have been off by a pound or so.
Yeah, you were way off.
Well, it seems like every other day I get a text like, here's a brisket I just smoked. Here's like 3 racks of ribs I did. So I'm going to do a picnic roast tomorrow. And then I think I got a lamb shank.
None of this is true. Like none of that's true. I've smoked.
No, you did ribs. You did ribs.
One rack of ribs.
Okay.
And then 1 tri-tip.
Oh, yeah. That tri-tip looked good.
Yeah. Today I am actually smoking a half pork tenderloin roast. Right after we record this, I'm going to go out and prep it and get it going. It's about a 3-hour smoke.
I'm worried about running out of wood pellets, so I've been very judicious on my smoke because I don't really want to go to the store.
If you remember how long I've been looking at getting a smoker, it's
like 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and I kept trying to smoke on my gas grill, and I did actually do like a third of a brisket on my gas grill that just turned out amazing one time. And my biggest thing with these pellet grills was like the pellets remind me of gerbil food or gerbil bedding. And like, I could just never get over that like visual that like I'm smoking like gerbil droppings mixed.
Bryant has some weird hang-ups, man.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, I made the plunge, and it smells just like normal wood, smoking. I don't know if you can believe that, these pellets do, but
no, it's amazing.
It's still weird to see them.
I'm looking
weird looking. I don't like the look of the pellets. They kind of freak me out. I'll be honest.
I'm looking forward to the day that because I think Jim was looking at buying like 20 acres or something. I think
like in South Jersey. Yeah.
I imagine he'd have a great outdoor kitchen on those 20 acres.
Yeah, with a whole bunch of livestock.
Yeah,
fainting goats that we could go.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't say 20 acres. I just wanted a couple.
He would have fainting goats because when he needed some entertainment, he would just run. Ah! It's like, I can go back to the day now. I am refreshed. You can see him doing that though, right?
Yeah, he'd probably like he'd go down to Arkansas and get like one of those baby hogs, just like pick one up, and then he'd feed it until it was about 1,200 pounds, and then he'd, let loose with his 20 acres in South Jersey with his hog. Give kids rides on the hog,
I wonder what 20 acres in South Jersey looks like.
Have a couple of ponies. Jim will be a pony daddy.
Yeah, he would be a pony daddy. His face is bright red.
I can't take you two right now.
Yeah.
This is
just how it's going to be for at least the next few weeks. So you're going to have to get used to it.
But I did the subreddit where they talk about girls who grew up with ponies. That's really interesting. Like you never want to date a girl that grew up with a pony. Like you'll just never meet her expectations. That's essentially the whole subreddit.
You've got Reddit problems.
Yeah, no, that's already been established.
Yeah, Reddit's not social media, by the way.
It's a dangerous place. All right, you had a question, Jim.
Yeah, so as we've been joking around, and we started off talking about how there are just a lot of distractions. This isn't normal. Have you heard of anybody where they've been given the expectations from their employer that like doesn't matter, get shit done, like don't don't expect any kind of leniency or whatever word we can think of to dealing with this?
For sure. And I think it's unfortunate. That's forced perspective, by the way. It's unfortunate because it isn't. We started out this podcast with like this is remote work. No, this is far from it. This is not normal. And I think to treat it any other way is putting everyone in a difficult spot. And it's not to say there isn't work to be done, right? Like there's a lot of work to be done. And I think it's okay to hold people accountable to getting work done, but we need to do it in a different way right now. And I think when you give that kind of autonomy and trust to your team, you'll be wowed with like how creative they are in coming up with ways of getting stuff done. Trying to force the paradigm of this is how we're doing it in the office, so we're going to replicate it right now. It's never going to work. At least in I'm just not seeing it working. And the people that I know that are in that situation are feeling just miserable right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard from a couple of people about the lack of empathy for those situations. And I think that it was kind of the immediate reaction. I think that's loosened up since then, but yeah, that's unfortunate. And also, I think we're all pretty, on this podcast, pretty fortunate to not be living in a major metro in a 1-bedroom apartment with our kids at home while we're in lockdown. Like I think we're pretty fortunate to have the ability, for myself, like I've got a nice neighborhood I can go walk around through and have plenty of room, but those that are in that situation, it's got to be a lot harder too to get work done, balance these kids, having just such close quarters, and the inability to get out of that would be really difficult too.
Yeah, agreed. No, I definitely feel lucky with the setup setup that we have. And I think that puts us in a good position to be helpers. Jim and I had a one-on-one, I think a few days ago. And I said, it's tough what we're going through, but we're in such an ideal place. And a lot of the people we're working with don't have it as good as we do. And it's a really opportune time for us to be a bit of a bright spark and a helper to those people that don't. Because it is, I definitely feel fortunate for what we have. It could be much, much worse for sure. Well, this has been fun. We should do this every week.
Hang in there, buddy.
Yeah, and just accept that it's not normal, and that's okay. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Lighten up, Jim.
I'm trying.
Shave your head into a mohawk. Do something crazy. It's okay. We got you.
I just might now. you just gave me something fun to do. I might come to work on Monday with that.
I'm looking forward to it. all calls with Jim next week, video calls.
Yep.
Mandatory.
Well, this has been fun. This has been a good distraction that I know I personally needed. So I hope those that are still listening enjoy just the banter.
Agreed. We all can take a little break. So hopefully this was a good break in everyone's day.
Yep. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, guys, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of 33 Tangents. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate and review the show on your favorite podcast aggregator so others can find us. If you would like to reach us, you can do so by emailing podcast@33sticks.com or on the web at 33tangents.33sticks.com. 33 Tangents is a production of 33 Sticks, an analytics boutique.